11:59. The live streaming event begins at noon. How's the audio? How's the video? How's the audience? $11:59. Looking good, Rick. Thank you, Dave. Live streaming begins at noon. And it's noontime. I've been preparing for today's live streaming event, and I'm a bit overwhelmed with what to talk about. It's funny how the brain works. So I thought I'd talk about something positive before I get into the bad news, or just a check on reality, whatever you want to call it. But it's not that bad if you're prepared mentally. That's what I think. So with that said, as I've been getting older, and apparently across the world, certain illnesses are becoming more common, like diabetes. So I thought I'd share my little experience. So I went for a physical recently, 6 months ago or whatever. And of course they do blood work and all that other stuff. And the doctor called me at home, and she said, it looks like you might have diabetes 2 in the pre-stages. Well, that was kind of devastating. Why would I have that? So I did a little homework, looking on the internet, different kinds of foods that can kind of correct the situation or reduce it. And I found out it was the largest health problem and growing on planet Earth today. So what is diabetes? Basically, it's your body's inability to process different things like sugars, etc., like it used to when we were younger. So as you age, your liver, your other organs in your body just aren't processing things as well. And it can be quite catastrophic. You can have your feet cut off, you can lose your eyes. It causes a lot of health issues. So I found it very concerning. And a lot of people can't afford medical insurance, or maybe I could give you some direction to help you take care of yourself. So the first thing I did is went on the internet and learned about some of what you should eat and drink and what you shouldn't eat and drink. And suffice it to say, don't drink soda. Don't drink a lot, eat a lot of candy. And I did learn a couple of surprises. So drink water, eat fresh vegetables and fruits, and cut down on raw, a lot of meat. But there were a couple things that really stood out. And apparently with the diet that we're all used to these days, we gain weight. But it's a false kind of weight. It's because we eat a lot of garbage. Stuff that our body doesn't process. Get it? So you gain this weight, and your body is overwhelmed processing the sugars. So consequently, you have high glucose. And so for about $30, you can go buy one of these. There's different brands, but it's a little meter, has a little port there you can stick a strip in. You buy some strips, and you take one of these little lancets, and you just prick your skin, take the strip, and put it over a little bubble of blood, not very much, on the strip, and plug it into the meter, and it'll give you your blood sugar count. So for $50 you can get the meter, the lancets, and the strips, and you can find out whether or not you have a diabetes problem. That's pretty cheap. And you can, other friends and neighbors and relatives, you can tell them what you've discovered and let them check themselves. And maybe head off a huge health problem. So it's just nice to know. So what's a number you shouldn't have? So when I started out, when I bought the meter, I keep track every day. When the doctor called me, and I told her I'd get back to her in a few months after I figured it out, and I believe I figured it out. I just think it's worth knowing, so I thought I'd throw it in this video. But my counts were 240, 232, 221, 309. You're supposed to be about 100 or 125 or 98 or 80 when you're young. So you're supposed to be plus or minus 100 blood sugar count, glucose in your body. That's normal, and it gets a little more after you eat, and it should be a little less before you eat. So it has a little place on this for the time. So you can do it in the morning and you can do it at noontime. So you can check yourself for a day or so for $50. I highly recommend it. I'm not a doctor, but if you do realize you have a huge number, one, you can go see a doctor. But me, instead of using the doctor and prescriptions, I sought an alternate remedy. And as hard as it was, I had to accept it, and I had to bite the bullet and do it. And it's very simple for me. No bread, no white rice, and no pasta, spaghetti, noodles, macaroni. Processed wheat and flour products. No bread, no pasta, no white rice. That is half the battle. And we all go out and we get a slice of pizza, there's your bread. You go to an Asian restaurant, there's your white rice. And I had myself under control, and me and my girlfriend went to a business appointment and then to ate at an Asian restaurant in a neighboring town. And when I got home and checked myself, I was back where I started from. One serving of white rice. So that's kind of important, is to get the strips, the meter, the lancets. Just check yourself. Make sure you're down in the 120, 130, even 150 probably wouldn't be devastating. You could correct that rather easy. But if you're at 200 and 300, and apparently worldwide diabetes is on the increase because of all the processed foods. Which brings me to another solution to the diabetes problems. This is important. And there is a side effect of not eating bread, white rice, and pasta. You lose weight. Takes you a month, takes you 2 months. But you go from 10 to 15 pounds less weight. And that has huge other benefits if you're a little overweight. So I found out then with exercise is also necessary. So if you're a couch potato or sitting in front of the computer a lot like I do, you need to get out there and run around the house 3 or 4 times, or do something to get your heart rate up, and some exercises. Go to the beach, go in the water. Get off your dead butt and do something. So I found this is another neat little product here. You can buy this, and you put your finger in it, and it tells you 2 numbers. It tells you the number of the percentage of oxygen you are breathing and your heart rate. So I'm 98% oxygen breathing, which, 100% would be perfect. But that's pretty good, 98. If you find yourself at 92 or 87, you might need to get an ambulance and go to the emergency room. So for $20, you can go buy this little thing you put on your finger. Tells you your heart rate and your oxygen content. And I notice when I go into an asthma attack, my top number there, the oxygen content in my body, is way down. And I'm gasping for air. And that happens sometimes when they're dumping a lot of chemicals in the sky. But the other thing that's important is your heart rate. And if you get in some exercises and are eating properly and lose a little weight, you can get down to 62 and 72. I was 72 or 71 this morning. I've been just ate a little while ago, and I'm preparing for this video, so my heart rate goes up. But it's about 10 points lower than the oxygen content, so I'm satisfied with that. So again, $20. Carry this with you, and if you happen to notice you're not breathing in enough oxygen, the top number, or your heart rate is continuously too high, you need to get some exercise and maybe see a doctor. The third thing I did, and these are just common sense things people need to do, and you can avoid seeing a doctor generally if you just pay attention to these 3 things I'm showing you, is when you go shopping to your food store, most of them have the high blood pressure machine sitting there, and you can just sit down, stick your arm in and push a button, and make sure you're under the parameters on the top one. And if you're not, and you do like I did, I was above it significantly. Again, lethargic, sitting in front of a computer, not paying attention, thinking I was invincible and healthy. But my the blood pressure wasn't that bad, but it was in the second or even approaching the third category on there, saying I might have a problem looming. But I went up to the pharmacy and I said, are there any kind of pills I can buy or some kind of nutrient that can get my blood pressure down? He said, no. He said, what you need to do is go out there and exercise. It's that simple. So diabetes, getting the proper breathing with exercises, reducing your blood pressure so you stay healthy with exercise. And the other major thing, I'm going to just throw in my 2 cents here with this video and then get on with these other topics, is what are you eating? And I wouldn't have believed this, but apparently it's true. We all, I believe, need to spend a couple extra bucks and buy special food. And they have certain stores like Earth Fare that you can go buy organic foods which do not have herbicides and pesticides. And genetically modified foods which have altered DNA to be herbicide and pesticide resistance, and may even have herbicides and pesticides integrated into the DNA of the food so that the bugs will stay away from the plant and weeds and other stuff don't grow. In other words, they make the food genetically modified. And organic means it hasn't been sprayed with herbicides and pesticides, which, as you can imagine, would be a form of rat poison for your body. It kills bugs, rodents, weeds, and they're putting that DNA in the food or spraying it on the plants when they're growing. And when you eat the apple or the other food that's not organic and not non-GMO, you're getting these rat poison and toxins into your body. Think of drinking things like sodas and artificial sweeteners. Run away and run fast from that stuff. Get spring water, get water filters, get fresh vegetables, wash them, soak them in salt and water, etc. But the other great idea to get your health going, and something we all should do, and you can do it even in a city with a small backyard, plants will grow like weeds. Cucumbers, squash, lettuce, kale. It just grows and grows. This is like my pickings from the garden today. can see peppers in there, cucumbers, squash. All this has no herbicides, pesticides, and it doesn't take a lot of work. Cucumbers, peppers, squashes, and of course, as you can see by the size of the basket, you can save a ton of money. So those are some health tips that I've learned about because of something called necessity, survival. So that's something I'm going to talk about, survival. I've been reading this book, L. Ron Hubbard Dianetics. And I read it years ago, and it had an impact on my life. I actually became quite good at hypnotizing people, regressing people. I was always kind of a techie. I have an electronic technology degree. Worked at a major aerospace company for 10 years near the Space Center in Florida. Hugo, we are Cubans, so rice and beans are everyday thing. Hugo, brown rice is a lot better. The white rice will get your sugar way up. Just saying, if you don't have the problem, that's a good thing. But if you go look on the internet, you will find that diabetes is a growing problem all across the country. Okay, I'm looking at my comments here. Monsanto, creator of Agent Orange dioxin. By the way, Monsanto, if you put it in a numerology calculator, is 666. That doesn't surprise me. Google, the CEO, Eric Schmidt, 666 in a numerology calculator. Computer is 666 in a numerology calculator, and so many other words you can look it up. And it's just hard to believe it's just all coincidences. Zephyr Hills, 100% natural spring water. Yeah, I used to drink Zephyr Hills all the time. Fortunately for me, at the current time, I'm out here outside of the city, and we have well water. So it's the first time I've been drinking from the faucet for a long time. So anyways, speaking of all those issues, Dianetics. I was reading this years ago, and it had a profound impact on my life until I tried to regress myself and gave myself a headache. So there is something to this stuff, and maybe sometimes you need to stop doing stupid things. You practice this metaphysics and psychic stuff. You got to be careful. But one thing I read in here that I thought was interesting, and it pertains to this conversation, and it's going to pertain to what I'm going to read about. The dynamic principle of existence is survival. So when we see all the things going on in the world today, all those Arabs marching out of the Middle East and being flown into New York and Pennsylvania and sent to the rural communities, and all this other stuff, immigrating or trying to flee into Germany and other countries with the assistance of the powers that be. All those people are trying to survive. Even the people in Mexico who come up to the United States to work, they're trying to survive. And apparently the people controlling Mexico or other places like the Middle East are not giving them the opportunity or clamping down, preventing them from surviving. And the most powerful instinct, and this is important, for all humanity and every living creature or plant or bug or bird or anything, its DNA is programmed to survive. So when things get pushed, people can get desperate and their survival instincts will kick in. Think about that. Think about that the powers that be know that. Think about sustainability, biodiversity, global warming, pole shifting. They are pushing our survival buttons and they kick in a response. The goal of life can be considered to be infinite survival. Man as a life form can be demonstrated to obey in all his actions and purposes the one command: survive. It is not a new thought that man is surviving. It is a new thought that man is motivated only by survival. So I thought about that, and it really concerned me, because I realized the evil forces controlling our planet, whether you want to call them reptilian beings or hybrid fallen angels, whatever you want to call it, those entities also have the ultimate goal of survival. The evil forces, the cabal, Illuminati, leaders of organizations, huge corporations, they are going to survive. When we wake up and we learn more about what's going on and what's planned for our reality, they're going to feel threatened, and they're going to push back and survive. The more that we see we're about to be killed, attacked, we're going to try to survive. This is a necessity to wake up to this fact. The evil forces are going to fight to survive. The more that the world wakes up and the more that it pushes back and the more they get up against the wall, the more desperate they're going to get. Conversely, the more that they move forward, the more they put up surveillance systems, the more they start, it becomes knowledgeable to more people that the electromagnetic, cell phone, HARP systems, artificial intelligence, computerized systems, electronics and all that is attacking us and suppressing us. The people are going to fight back to survive. And when the people fight back to survive, the evil forces are going to fight back more to survive. Who's got the biggest weapons? Who knows more? All right, now, who survives? I was still reading this book and these questions came to my mind. So the most powerful instinct for any living thing is survival. That's a fact. Anybody dispute that? Go out to your garden. Go outside. Look at bugs. Look at squirrels. Look at everything. They all want to eat. They all want to survive. Mice. It doesn't matter. People. All right. One guy says, evil powers, LOL. Oh, guy says, do you believe you're God? No, I don't believe I'm God. That's part of the New Age teaching. Okay, moving on here, the comments. Some people want to just push buttons instead of getting involved in a positive conversation. So who survives? The evil forces or we the people? With the New Age, New World Order, globalism, etc. The more sentient the man in this book, and I believe Dianetics has a lot of powerful information about the mechanics of the human body, the human person, the human, from the standpoint of the physical human and the spiritual human. The more sentient a man, which means the more aware, responsive to, or conscious of sense impressions, finely sensitive in perception. So the more aware we are, the more people can see what's going on around them. The satanic symbolisms during the Super Bowl halftime shows and Emmys and Grammys and Olympic openings and tunnel openings and Eurovision like the American Idol program. And being aware knowing that they're murdering Syrians every day right now, increasing the attack, as President Donald Trump said yesterday in his speeches and meetings with President Putin of Russia. So being aware is part of the key thing, being sentient, to surviving. The more sentient the man, the less he is a push-button instrument. Aberrated and reduced, people who are not paying attention, who want to bury their head in the sand, want to ignore all this and ridicule people, aberrated and reduced, he can, of course, in a limited degree, be made to perform like a marionette, like a robot, like a zombie, just like they promote on TV. So they're not aware, they're not sentient. But then it is understood that the more aberrated a person is, the closer he approaches the intelligence quotient of an animal. So there you have it. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance leads to extinction, non-survival. Just got some odd things to look at. I was looking at this book, thinking about Winston Churchill during World War II. And I saw something in here I'd like to read, putting everything into context that we just talked about. Here's what he said. One day, President Roosevelt told me that he was asking publicly for suggestions about what the war should be called, World War II. I said at once, the unnecessary war. There never was a war more easy to stop than that which has just wrecked what was left of the world in the previous struggle, World War I. The human tragedy reaches its climax in the fact that after all the exertions and sacrifices of hundreds of millions of people, and of the victories of the righteous cause, we have still not found peace or security. And we lie in the grip of even worse perils than those we have surmounted. It is my earnest hope that pondering upon the past may give guidance in days to come, to enable a new generation to repair some of the errors of the former years, and thus govern in accordance with the needs and glory of man, the awful unfolding scene of the future. Winston Spencer Churchill. So we're talking about sentient, being aware. Dianetics says if we're not sentient and we don't become aware, we're headed for extinction. And like I said, the evil forces are going to obey their own natural instincts to survive. They have their own philosophy. And apparently, according to the Bible and other documentation, it is an insane hatred for mankind and a belief that they are godlike and should rule over and command and control and enslave men. There are people that believe this. All right, comments at 12:28. Luciferians believe that they are God. All right. So I talk about a lot of things. So I thought I'd look at a couple books I have not done book reviews on, just to show a little more evidence that this reality does exist. There are plenty of books. By the way, before I start that, I wanted to point out something. I've got 700, maybe 800 hours of video on my YouTube channel, rickmiracle.com, encompassing about 250 books I have about 1,000 books in this office. And let me just suggest this and see if people agree. When you get that many books, and you've read this many books, hundreds, and watch thousands of videos, tens of thousands of press release and research documents printed out, I've shown them. Four or five boxes full of pictures, all cataloged, all kinds of paper documents that could stack up 10 feet. I've shown it in my videos. This is the bookcase in my office, sitting right there. The top 2 rows are the 250 books that I made book reviews on, which I'm like 501, 502 videos on my YouTube channel. So there's the 200 on the top. So on the bottom, there's about 250. So there's 450 books on that shelf. I purchased them all. The bookcase behind me, including the bottom doors there, this is the point to make quickly. The bottom doors and the top, that's 200 plus books. And then in my office closet, I have another bookcase, and there's another one in there. So I estimated 200 books in the closet. And in the bedroom, I have a bookcase. And in the bedroom closet, and I have numerous boxes under the bed and in the utility shed. So I have over 1,000 books. My point is, when you've done this for 14, going on 15 years, read a lot of these books I read during the first 10 years, I didn't make books reviews on yet because I wasn't doing it. I didn't make book reviews on books until I had completed 9 or 10 years. So when you start to see some common denominators, yes, no. And one of the common denominators I see clearly is there are powers that be working behind the scenes, evil forces, that have always been there. We all know about castles and empires, Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, the Roman Empire, the Egyptian Empire, Hitler, and so much more. And we have these people, these same evil powers at work today, but they're under different names, operating as a secret cabal, secret society, intelligence agencies, Mossad, CIA, NSA, FBI, and so many more, not coming clean with the American people, but up to no good, probably obeying the huge corporations. And again, I pray that not all of those people are on the dark side, but many of them are, as we've seen in the news. You can't deny this. So when you have that many books and you've done this much work, you'd have to be just insane to not be able to acknowledge to yourself some evil forces are at work. And looking up at the sky, seeing the dumping of chemicals. So this is a book I haven't made a book review on yet, but I have done some on Peter Moon and Preston Nichols, the names of the authors you can see. But the Pyramids of Montauk, Explorations in Consciousness. So they were really doing some very evil things to abducted young boys from New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts. Experiments that were horrific. Go beyond the occult. Just going to make a quick show here. Transformation of America. Transformation of America. The true life story of CIA mind slave Kathy O'Brien and Mark Phillips. This book contains sexually explicit quotes and irrefutable anatomical details of the perpetrators and is therefore recommended for mature readers only. Transformation of America is a documented autobiography of a victim of government mind control. Kathy O'Brien is the only vocal and recovered survivor of a Central Intelligence Agency MK Ultra project. Project Monarch mind control operation. Chiseled deep into the white stone of the CIA's Langley, Virginia headquarters is the partial verse lifted from the Holy Bible and writings of St. John. And the truth shall make you free. The building that is engraved upon houses the world's most successful manufacturer of lies to facilitate the psychological warfare. The company uses truth and technology as their raw materials to produce pure lies for control of you and America's allies. Within the pages of Transformation of America, you'll find the truth. U.S. government mind control. So you choose to believe or not to believe, to be a sentient, aware being, bent on survival, or be aberrated and not be paying attention and be heading for extinction. We all have a choice. Here's another one. Just some books I haven't made book reviews on. My years as an FBI undercover agent. Julie Brown. Just read the small sentence on the back. Julie Brown, a Negro lady of Cleveland, Ohio, is hoodwinked into joining the Communist Party to work for civil rights. Becoming disillusioned, informs FBI of subversive civil rights fronts. I didn't write this book. I'm not the one that's saying this. Judy Brown is saying it. Later, FBI asks her to rejoin the party as an undercover agent. She succeeds, and for 9 long years, avoiding detection, works for the party while reporting to the FBI. In this book, she warns Negroes and all Americans of the subversive forces at work in the current civil rights movement. And I'm going to expand that into this new age, socialism, progressive, pansexual, Rainbow Coalition, Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. Julie Brown. Hollywood and the Supernatural. Sherry Hansen Steiger and Brad Steiger. Includes map with exact locations of Hollywood's supernatural phenomena. You don't believe, do you? And all these styles and book I have, you think they're all lies? I guess you really have to be wanting to bury your head in the sand to not wake up, to not to be a sentient being, to be aberrated. But you can bet your bottom dollar the evil forces controlling our world want you aberrated. They do not want you to wake up. Many people have died, been murdered. The dark and secret history of Hollywood's supernatural world is revealed here more frighteningly than ever before. The book presents dozens of mesmerizing stories about the citizens of Tinseltown and their contact with the occult. I've been reading this a little bit, and I can tell you some of these people had some really downright evil parties involving bloodbaths and symbols and seances and satanic rituals. Man, when you give some people a little bit of money and power and make them think that they're special, the things they do are basically insane, psychopathic. I've got a lot of books to show that the evidence is out there, the mark of the beast. There is a signature of control. The mark is real, the warning is clear, and you need to know it. What is the mark? Who will receive it? How can it be avoided? The 4 crucial Bible chapters are explained. Over 200 historians and religious authorities are quoted. Nearly 300 Bible passages are quoted and referred to. Time is passing rapidly and major crisis is ahead. And I've got books like this. I don't read these and study these. The history of witchcraft. Some people go, oh, you're crazy. Witchcraft doesn't exist. The strategy of Satan. You can go buy the books and how to detect and defeat him. So when I talk about all these evils in the world, it's not just the physical world. It's the spiritual component to it, the mark of the beast. For 2,000 years, the sphere of destiny, the sphere that pierced the side of Christ while he was on the cross, has been held by the rulers of the Western world. King of the witches, the world of Alexanders, the symbols. So you got all these people into this occult. These same people brought us 911, a fascinating book right here. I made videos on this book, Series 12. So early in my series, 2013, Mossad, and a lot of these people you know who they are. Mossad, Israel, 911 enabled them to embark on an accelerated program of destruction for the Middle East. 2, bring about some prophecy of rebuilding King Solomon's temples. Here's some Freemasons with their model of King Solomon's temple. You can't make this stuff up. You can look it up. So they've been at this for quite a while. Some Freemasons and their model of King Solomon's temple. People don't want to believe that they're controlled by the Illuminati, which are part of the same people who financed and brought Israel into existence. They brought us World War I, World War II. I have all the books. Another picture, Freemasons and their model. Freemasons and the Ancient Egyptians by Manly P. Hall, one of the famous writers of Freemasonry. There is a religion to this Judaism Illuminati. It might just behoove people to wake up to that fact, that this stuff is all real. They're using propaganda to convince people not to be religious or believe in God. You can look up Freedom from Religion on Yahoo image site and see all these pictures, all this propaganda. I got a stack of them this thick. We're not going to look at them all. I've been showing them during different videos. Other books I've made book reviews on. David Icke and The Truth Shall Set You Free. Series 20, early in my video making career. Another one, Jewish author in Canada. Tells all. A Jewish PhD author in Canada. Henry McCall. See the star, see the eye. Says on the top, Illuminati, the cult that hijacked the world. So people who are in denial, not sentient, aberrated, will start snickering when you mention Illuminati. You can go buy the book. And it's by a Jewish man who has a PhD in Canada. Eustace Mullins. I've gone over his books. By the way, that was series number 2, early in my video making career. Murder by Injection, Eustace Mullins. Since the early 1900s, the Rockefeller family and many others went out of their way to put fluoride in our water, calcify our pineal glands, cause illnesses, and take over the medical establishment. A well-respected journalist and author in Washington, D.C. The Secrets to the Federal Reserve, another Eustace Mullins book. They took over the USA money supply in 1913, December 21st, winter solstice, a witchcraft holiday. You've just seen all the witchcraft books. You can look that stuff up. I didn't think it was interesting when I got this book in the mail. I like ordering used books. This is Houston Mullins' book. But there was this dollar in the book. And if you look at the top, it says silver certificate. That was kind of cool. I opened the package. Comes in the mail. Silver certificate in Eustace Mullins' book. And another thing I recommend to people is to go look this up. Protocols of Zion. Please look it up. Political freedom is an idea, but not a fact, it says. This idea one must know how to apply whenever it appears necessary, with the bait of an idea to attract the masses of the people to one's party for the purpose of crushing another who is in authority. Divide and conquer, Hegelian dialectic. This task is rendered easier if the opponent has himself been infected with the idea of freedom, so-called liberalism, and for the sake of an idea is willing to yield some of his power. So all this stuff with liberalism, progressivism, and all that, even in the Protocols of Zion, they're admitting they're using those as tools to deceive us. Clouds of secrecy. The Army's germ warfare test over populated areas. Leonard Cole. Do I have to say any more? Read the book. Go watch my video. Series 18. Protocols of Zion is Series 8. I've made several videos. Look it up. Freemasonry and Satanism, Book Review 8. Emerging viruses and AIDS and Ebola. A highly educated medical man tells you all in this encyclopedia-like book about the black op projects of the government and how they invented AIDS. HIV-1. They went through a lot of trouble. It was documented. Even went to Alaska to recover the Spanish flu. Why would they do that? You don't believe in the psychic world, do you? Okay, the government is into putting men in trances, maybe women, or drugs, teaching them how to leave their body. David Morehouse, inside the CIA Stargate program, the true story of soldiers, espionage, and awakening. Series 10. Go watch my videos. Again, you don't believe in the spiritual world, do you? And to those of you who do, I'm just being a little funny, maybe. Psychic Self-Defense, Dion Fortune. Series 14. Go get the book if you don't want to believe what I say. Watch my video. Series 14. Freemasonry and Satanism. Book Review 14. And what kind of tools and powers will these evil forces use? John Perkins risked his life. The shocking inside story of how America really took over the world. And who controls America? The Illuminati, the banking system, the elite Zionist Jewish people, and the people associated with the secret mystery religion and all these Freemason lodges, Rosicrucian, Illuminati, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Council of Foreign Relations, Heritage Foundation, Ford Foundation, Bohemian Grove, Bilderberger Group. I could sit here for an hour or two and I wouldn't be able to name them all off. But anyways, this man confesses on how they convinced presidents and kings and monarchs and leaders from other countries to borrow millions, maybe more, and promised them significant income and prosperity for their people. It was all a lie. They intended to bankrupt the countries and create a global world order. Because people sign contracts, even countries, when they borrow 50 million or 1 billion. And then when you can't pay it back anymore, you go into bankruptcy. You go under the thumb and the control of these elites. It's that simple. You want to know who all these families are, all these elites? Go get Fritz Springmeier's book. Go watch his videos on YouTube. He has other books. Fritz Springmeier, look at the symbols. Skull and bones there, maybe? Double-headed bird, the phoenix rising, the pyramid. Has all the family names in here. Astor, Bundy, Collins, DuPont, Freeman, Kennedy. And even the Kennedy's grandfather was seriously, apparently, into importing drugs. But some of these elitists, when they get put in power, because they are part of the elitist families, some of them have a sense of conscience, like President John Kennedy, and his famous speech just before he was assassinated, where he said, "Secret societies are repugnant to the American way of life, and I intend to expose it." And then he's assassinated. So they're saying right now President Donald Trump is bunking the system or opposing it, not cooperating. Will something happen to him? Or is he cooperating and it's a huge deception? Some of the things he did doesn't make me feel good, doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, something these elitist, Zionist, Illuminati banksters have been fighting for, and that's why we had World War I and World War II, as per my research and all these books in my office. Lai family, L-I, Rothschild family, it's all in this book. Russell family, behind the Mormon Jehovah Witnesses and Mormon church people. The Holy Merovingian, however you say this. Van Doon, Reynolds, Anyways, as you can see, I'm not going to be able to see any longer if I keep stacking them up. So there was a document I was going to read from, but I think I'll put it off till tomorrow because then it will be, it'll make sense when I read from it if you've watched this video. The Franklin cover-up, here's another one. Child abuse, Satanism, and the murder in Nebraska. So apparently there was some scandal involving bank fraud. And when they started to look into it, they found it was much worse, much more horrible, much deeper, much more involved with child abuse, Satanism, and murder in Nebraska. So if you don't want to believe in Pizzagate and all that stuff, then maybe you don't want to believe 1,000 books in my office, and half of them are probably deception of the evil forces trying to convince us of something. You have to use discernment and realize what you're reviewing and what they're trying to do. En route to global occupation. Like I said, I just randomly went and got a couple books off my shelves. En route to global occupation. A high-ranking government liaison exposes the secret agenda of world unification. Somebody tell me how this is going to be good. High-ranking government liaison Gary Koch, KAH, warns that national sovereignty will soon be a thing of the past. And they're deluding our countries by making life intolerable in the Middle East, and those people will run towards the planes and the ships and the buses and the trucks to get out of that hell in the Middle East. And then they're guided into Germany and Holland and the United States and Canada and Brazil and countries all over the world, bringing with them their kind of religion, disturbing the pot of the world, which is the intent. Rules for radicals. They got books for these people who want to stir up the trouble. A pragmatic primer for realistic radicals. So you want to be a radical? You want to join the progressives? You want to know how to create hate? I was reading just a little bit of this book. Page 25 in the prologue, the introduction. Here we are desperately concerned with the vast mass of our people who, thwarted through lack of interest or opportunity or both, do not participate in the endless responsibilities of citizenship. So people are not being sentient beings anymore. They're being aberrant. They have things they want to avoid. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to accept responsibility. They want to hide. They don't want to do what they're supposed to do to survive. They're going to become extinct. And they could pull the rest of us down with them, people who don't want to admit what is going on. It says it in here. Rules for radicals. To lose your identity as a citizen of democracy is but a step to losing your identity as a person. People react to this frustration by not acting at all. The separation of the people from the routine daily functions of citizenship is a heartbreak in a democracy. In a grave situation where the people resign their citizenship, and when a resident of a great city, though he may desire to take a hand, lacks the means to participate, that citizen sinks further into apathy, anonymity, and depersonalization. The result is that he comes to depend on the public authority, and the state of a civil cirrhosis sets in. They write books, Rules for Radicals. More books. I got a few minutes here. Why don't I just keep looking at a couple books? I do have a document I want to read tomorrow. That was this video is like a preparing for this document I'm going to read tomorrow. New World War. This guy, Mark Rich, wrote these books. You can go look them up. Mark Rich. Planetary Sabotage and Human Extermination. New World War. Revolutionary Methods for Political Control. I know people don't want to believe. The Hidden Evil, Mark Rich. Invisible Eugenics, how the medical system and public schools are killing your children. People don't want to believe. What are you going to do, you know? So I'm going to read this tomorrow. But today's video was kind of a preparedness for it. It wouldn't make as much sense when I read that tomorrow. When I read that tomorrow, all of what I just showed you here will make sense. And you can't help but say, oh my. All right, comments. Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, and Trump News. I was watching a Mike Adams, a Health Ranger video this morning, and he was continuing to talk about David Wilcock. And I'm also watching a David Wilcock, Corey Good video right now. I have 2 or 3 videos always going at one time, and I go watch 15 minutes or 10 minutes. But apparently David Wilcock and Mike Adams of Health Ranger are both talking about the Gaia.com, which is apparently, according to a lot of videos, sinking like a rock because they've been exposed promoting the Luciferic philosophy, satanic, that these beings from someplace else made us and they're coming back, our guardians, our creators. The Invisible Government by David Wise and Thomas Ross. The startling and disturbing book is the first full authentic account of America's intelligence and espionage apparatus, its fantastic blunders and the incredible successes, its terrifying power. And way back in 1925, plus or minus, Henry Ford bought a magazine, the Dearborn Independent, because he saw what was going on. This is Henry Ford, the automaker. Everybody loves the Ford. So you're going to believe Henry Ford, or you're going to believe all that New Age propaganda. People tell you, there's nothing going on. Don't worry. Killing goes on all the time. It's not your business. It's not affecting you if they're killing all the Arabs, is it? Anybody who believes that, it's got to be kind of insane themselves, because when they get finished with them, you know who's next. The rest of us. Anyways, I got these books, volume 1 through 4, and I made videos on them, series 71 and series 95. And the cover says everything. Jewish influence in American life. The international Jew, the world's foremost problem, Henry Ford. Aspects of Jewish power in the United States. The world's foremost problem, the international Jew, from Henry Ford's Dearborn Independent newspaper. I made videos on these, you can go watch them. The international Jew, the world's foremost problem. Number 4th one, Jewish activities in the United States, the international Jew, the world's foremost problem. And if you read these things, I guarantee you they'll make you very angry, especially if you read about how they took over the liquor industry. And remember when they had prohibition and you couldn't buy beer or whiskey or wine? You know why? Because certain people took it over and were diluting the liquors, putting in gasoline even probably, different kinds of straight alcohol. So they would buy up a label of whiskey, maybe from Tennessee, move that company to Louisville or Chicago, and sell that label, but diluted 1 part the whiskey that originated in Tennessee or Kentucky with 9 parts of some kind of chemical. And it was making people sick and blind and crazy and insane. They were doing it to make money. If that doesn't make you just angry, you can get the books and read them. And they took over the baseball industry, the movie industry, publishing industries. And they were all financed and shipped here to America intentionally after World War I. And to the exclusion that other peoples were not allowed to immigrate back then. It was just shipload after shipload after shipload of these Northern European Ashkenazi Jewish types, not really Hebrews. And they were ridiculing and laughing at we people in New York City and the world and taking over and being financed. Remember who controls the money supply since 1913, and this is happening in 1920. So they had endless amounts of money to buy up all the businesses in this country. It's a heck of a thing to say, isn't it? But you can buy the books. You don't have to believe me. There's a new religion coming. Christmas tree is gone. The menorah is the new religious symbol. Might make you wonder what this religion is. And like I said, David Wilcox sent in his resignation letter to Gaia. Gaia was accused of promoting Luciferism. I've shown all this material I just showed. I guess this is a song of the Freemasons. In history we read of a Freemason king. The glory of Israel, let praise, let us sing. He who built the great fabric, as we understand, on Mount Moriah in Jerusalem. Not a good singer, but you get the point. That's their song. Mount Moriah, that's where King Solomon's temple is. This is the song the Masons sing. What's it going to take to wake people up, to make people sentient beings? That is a prerequisite to survival, according to the Dianetics book, and I'm sure a lot of other psychological books. But when you're aberrated, when you have all these fears or all these things that people want to ignore and be apathetic and ignorance, and you really walk around laughing and saying ignorance is bliss or let's party till the end, is a recipe for extinction. You can buy the books. You can go on Yahoo image site and look up King Solomon's Temple and Freemasons and see all these pictures. I could go on for a while. So thank you for watching this live streaming event. And I've been reading some of your comments. Thanks much for your boldness. The book below is a good review of World II in Germany. The book below, which one is that? The same thing is being applied in 2018, USA Source Link. So I guess I'll see you tomorrow, provided I can be here. I might have a business appointment and have to skip. And if I don't make a video tomorrow, I always preload one that gets released at 12:45, 11:45. So if you go looking for my show and I'm not doing a live streaming event, I will have released a video from the series, the New World Order media and press releases I made last year. Basically a review of press release and research documents, sort of like my live streaming events, except it's not live streaming. I just go through the documents and talk about them. So that's probably what you'll see tomorrow. And then I'll try to make a live streaming event on Thursday. Thank you for watching and attending. Rick Miracle reporting.